Sahanau Bhunattu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanno Mitra Shamvarunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brunaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha. Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayu Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Rutam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavadu Tadbhaktaram Avadu Avadu Mam Avadu Bhaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So after having described the nature of Brahman, where can it be known in your buddhi, like the place where everything else is known, and how can it be known? Not as an object but as yourself. And what do you get is Sarvan Kaman Saha, right? So Ashnute. Okay? So the person gains everything that needs to be gained because one recognizes all that is here is one. Okay? And we saw the implication at an empirical level as a result of Niru's very good question. Right? Now the question still remains. Now the Upanishad has to explain how from this Brahman everything has come about. Okay? So now the next portion is now talking about what we call Srishti Prakriya. There is some explanation of how this world comes about. Before I go into that, one has to recognize a few things, right? One is that the Vedanta or the Upanishads commitment is not to give you all the minutest details about how the creation came about, right? The whole intention is to show you how creation is mithya, okay, and how there is only one reality, which is very, very explicitly said, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Okay, there is another Upanishad which says Brahman is Satyam, and the entire world has a dependent reality. Okay, so there the whole intention of this Srishti Prakriya, where the creation is talked about, because you see the creation, you cannot deny the existence of creation, right? Because there is creation, you are there. And because you are there, you are asking this question with reference to what is the nature of the creation, what is my place in it. Okay? So you cannot construe upon the creation as just an illusion. It is not. Right? As we have again and again said, our definition of mithya is a technical definition. It means that it has a dependent reality. It does not mean that it is something which is an illusion, it does not exist, it's false, it's like a dream, it's nothing of that sort. Okay? Now, yesterday Prakash asked this question, what we mean by a dependent reality? What we mean by a dependent reality is not that I depend upon air for my survival, I depend upon food for my survival, I depend upon water for my survival. That is not the kind of dependence that we are talking about. Dependence, when we talk about Satya Mithya relationship, We are not talking about that kind of a relationship, because water is something which is other than I, and then there is some kind, they are both mutually exclusive and one depends upon the other. This is how the setup is made. Right? Here when we are talking about the mithya, which is a dependent reality, we are talking about the two things not enjoying the same order of reality. Okay? So it is confusing, because when we start this example, right, we start with the table and then we talk about the wood. Okay? In fact, the table is not one thing like water, and a wood is not another thing like a human, and then that kind of a dependence. It's all that is here is only wood in a given shape. Okay? So that one has to keep in mind, that what do we mean by the term. Thank you for asking this question, because it's important, right? Now, if the whole thing has a dependent reality, so you're again and again reminded as to the fact that all that is here is Brahman. Okay? So from Brahman, how does everything which has a dependent reality, how does it all come about? Okay? Now, how do you know that the intention of Upanishad is not to give you all the details, exact details about how the creation came about? Okay? One of the important things is, for example, this particular model talks about 5 elements. You explain how there are 5 elements, we will see it, okay, from which the whole creation is a permutation and combination of 5 elements put together. Okay. In Chandogya Upanishad, only 3 elements are talked about. Okay. Taittiriya Upanishad talks about 5 elements: Akasha, space; Vayu, air; Agni, fire; water; and Prithvi. Right? The Chandogya Upanishad talks about not the Akasha and Vayu are not something which is available to me for perception as such. Right? So it talks about starting with Agni. Agni, water, Agni is fire, water and earth. Okay? So this is where you see that you are only trying to show that everything else is just as though, and what is the reality is Brahman. So that is, so you cannot spend hours, but why Taittiriya is talking about 5 elements and why Chandogya is talking about 3 elements. The point is not whether there are 5 elements or 3 elements. The point is, whichever the element is, it is coming, it has a dependent reality on Brahman. Okay? Now, this particular Vedic model, which constitutes of these 5 elements, can also be replaced very well with a scientific model. And there is no such rule that you have to use this model. So we very often use the Vedic model of 5 elements to show how Jagat is relative. But now with the advancement of science, we can very well use the quantum physics model to show you how the world is relative and it has a dependent reality. Right? Because the purpose is to show the dependence, and that in fact all the discoveries of science are helpful to Vedanta as one of the prakriyas. Okay? It makes us make you see things. We have more tools to make you see what Vedanta is ultimately talking about. So we are not shy of using some other models, right? Even in the growth, our model is that of the order. Okay? But we are not shy of using psychology, because psychology as a discipline is also one of the orders which is a manifestation of Ishvara. Right? So as human beings progress and they discover more things, all those discoveries can be used as a prakriya, as a methodology to make you see a certain fact. Okay? But the whole purpose is to lead you to where the Upanishads want you to go. That is the purpose. Now, let us see this, that from that, now what it says, Tasmat etasmat atmanaha akashaha sambhudaha. Okay? So from that, here, from that, what is the subject matter under discussion? Brahman, exactly, right? Because the Taittiriya Upanishad Valli starts with Brahmavid Apnoti Param. Okay, so Tasmat, from that Brahman. Okay, then the second word is Etasmat, from that, from this. Okay, in case you have missed the point and you have understood Brahman is something which is other than you, right? Upanishad is making sure that there is no such misunderstanding. So it says from that Brahman, which cannot be understood as something which is other than you, etasmat. From that it comes to this. Okay? Even if that this you don't understand very clearly, it further clarifies by saying Atmanaha. Atma is a word which is used as the meaning of I. Okay, so in case you have missed the understanding that Brahman cannot be understood as anything other than I, then here the Upanishad itself is making it very clear, so there is no doubt. Okay, this is how you reconcile the statements, right? So for example, just to give you an example, Prakash, that when somebody is asking Shankaracharya, why are you taking Brahman not as a given thing which is very big, as a cause, and why are you taking it as only I, then he will go back to Shruti and there is a reconciling, right? So this is how the whole analysis is done as to what is intended by the Shruti, right? And if I capture what is intended by Shruti, then there cannot be any contradiction, right? This is how the whole analysis is done. And the analysis is done not, the starting point of analysis is not that let everybody be right. The starting point of analysis is let me see what is the truth. Right? It's just like science. A scientist does not start by saying, oh, let everybody be right. Einstein was great, Newton was great, this one was great, each one, let all be, No, it doesn't start like that. Maybe they were all great, but if Newton thought the time and space framework to be absolute and then it was later discovered to be relative, then it doesn't, we are not taking away any greatness from Newton, but because we have respect for Newton, what he says in that particular thing doesn't make it right. That is the whole approach, right? So neither you start by saying this is right, nor you start by saying everybody is saying the same thing, right? Because they are not. If they are not saying the same thing, and if you start by saying they are all saying the same thing, you are starting with a wrong starting point, right? So you are starting with seeing, let me see how the reality is. And if what is demonstrated, what is taught by the teacher is corresponding to reality, then I should not be able to find any internal contradictions. That's how we start, right? So now that Brahman, so tasmat etasmat atmanaha. So that also makes it very clear, Brahman is I. Brahman has to be understood as the real nature of I. And what is that? Satyam, Dhanam and Anantam. And from that Brahman comes about Sambhutaha Akasha. Okay? From there comes the Akasha. Now, as we have seen, Brahman is what we call Vivarta, material cause for the creation. We have seen the logic that before the creation, there is no material. So whatever is the cause of the creation has to be in form of the material also. Okay? There are two types of material cause. Okay? But a material cause in Sanskrit is called Upadana Karanam. There are two types of material causes. One is what we call Vivarta Upadana Karanam, and the other one is what we call Parinami Upadana Karanam. What does it mean? Okay? When your own dream, okay? When you go to sleep and then wake up in the dream, you create this whole world, this is called dream world, in which you create mountains, rivers, places, people, and all the interactions are taking place, all kinds of things are going on, which gives you certain seemingly very real feelings, right? Have you undergone any change to become the mountain? Have you started, or have you undergone any change to create the river? Or you have gone to Paris and have sat in a cafe and had a nice coffee. Did you actually undergo any change at all? Right? So while in the dream it all seems very real, but you are the creator of the dream, but you have not undergone any change to become this dream world. That's why when you wake up, the entire dream world is totally gone and you are not affected by it at all. Right? So this is what we call Vivarta Upadana Karanam. I can create, anything can create the world, the cause can create the world without undergoing any change, intrinsic change in itself. Okay? There is other type of Upadana Karanam, which is what we call Parinami Upadana Karanam. A cause undergoes a change to become the effect. The example of that is milk and curd. Right? You have this milk, then you put something which is again a modification of that milk, then there is a transformation of that milk into curd. Right? So when there is curd, do you find milk there? You don't find milk there anymore. The milk has undergone a transformation to become the curd. You have not undergone a transformation to become the mountain, river, people, different characters, different feelings. So you see, there are two kinds of Upadana Karanam. In one case, the material does not undergo any transformation, and in the other case, the material itself undergoes a transformation to become something which is a different form altogether. So you don't find the original anymore. In this case, you can ask this question, is Brahman the Vivarta Upadana Karanam or is it Parinami Upadana Karanam? Has Brahman undergone a change to become the world, or the Brahman has never undergone any change to become the world, like how it happens in your dream?
There is no change.
There is no change. Exactly. It is a Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Okay. Now, how did you? It's a correct answer. How? I'm just a little bit curious. How how did you arrive at that? It's true. What you're saying is true.
Once it changes from that form, it's no more Brahman. It's a different one.
Exactly.
And it has a limit.
Exactly.
So when it's limitless, there is no change.
Absolutely. Right? So that is one of the reasons that then once it undergoes a change and actually becomes something, then there is, that ceases to be, it becomes a product, right? Now, the other way of looking at it is that is a logical way of thinking, right? That is not plausible, right? Now, the other way of looking at it is using the pramana, right? That right now, when I look at the world, right, I see forms within forms within forms within forms, right? But as I told you, I find that existence, the existence, which is in and through everything, which does not take any of the attributes of that increasingly compounded quality that as though appears. Right now I can see that by looking into the nature of the world. So if that existence had already undergone a change, right now it will not be available for me to be understood as that existence which is invariable in everything. Okay? Same thing with reference to consciousness. If consciousness itself had undergone a change to become the mind, okay, I cannot arrive at the fact that mind is nothing but thoughts, and thought comes and goes, and what is invariable is the consciousness. It will not be able to, I will not be able to arrive at that invariable presence because the consciousness has already become thought. It is not there, but now it's my direct experience, right? My direct knowledge that that consciousness is invariable. The thought cannot exist without the presence of consciousness. Thought is nothing but consciousness in that given name and form, like the table is nothing but a given object which is a given name and form for the content, which is wood, right? Thought is also nothing but a name and form. When I think about a tree, that takes on, the thought takes on the vritti, the thought of a tree. Then that thought goes and then it takes on the thought of a cow. So the thoughts keep changing, but the content of the thought is always consciousness, and that consciousness never takes on the attribute of the thought. Otherwise, the tree will always be sticking to the thought, right? To the consciousness. Then the cow will be superimposed on that. Imagine, you will never be able to, because you go on compiling more and more and more, right? And then every time there is a different perception, there is an addition to everything which is loaded. But that's not what our direct experience is. Consciousness is always totally free. Okay? So it is available right now for me to be appreciated based on inquiry, using the Upanishad, seeing that it is always free and it has never undergone any change. Okay? So one way of understanding it is through logic. The other way is using the pramana, the shruti, to see how it is so. Right? So without undergoing any change, it as though becomes the space. Okay? Now this space, according to the Shastra, is the subtlest within the manifest creation. There is nothing as subtle as space. So in terms of any object, the Shastra defines it in terms of the guna, the quality it has. Every time that it is a given object, right, then it must have some guna. Guna means quality. Okay? So what is the guna of space? The quality of space is only one, according to the Shastra, which is what we call Shabda. Shabda is sound. Okay? Sound is the only attribute that you can attribute to space. How can you appreciate that? Okay? So you see like a dholak, all these temples they play drum, right? So in that drum you have these, what is the material? Leather skin, right? Yeah. So there is a leather skin, and inside what is there? Space, right? There is only space. Okay. So when you do that thing, right, that itself, for example, when you tap on it, will there be a sound if you take a skin and if you tap on it? No. But if you put it there, there is a space inside, and you do this, it will make a sound. So there you say space has one attribute, and that is sound.
When we say space, vacuum is also space. And you don't have sound in vacuum. The sound is basically because of the air particles, vibrations of the air particles. When you pull out those air, it's still a space, but it's vacuum, and you won't have sound there.
But the quality of space should be need of.
Sorry?
Absence of. The quality of space should be need of. Absence of word, absence of shabd, rather than...
No, here we take it as, it is just to see that there is, see, when you say it is a given object, it must have some attribute, right? So that is taken as Shabda, right? That is, yeah.
Shabda is an attribute of Akasha or Vayu?
Akasha. Vayu is touch.
See, the whole idea here is to make into correspondence these elements which constitute your universe with your personal experience
Experiences.
and with your 5 organs of
Senses.
senses and senses. This is the attempt of this model. It's just a model. Okay? So we should not try to bring in here whatever we know from science. Just try to understand the model from inside, what it tries to say.
Okay. And because we were talking about Akasha and Vayu,
Yeah.
I was trying to say the attribute was towards the Vayu, the vibration.
So you will see now Vayu.
We will
what
see
it
what is Vayu.
You see?
Right?
Sabda
So-
is
Sound.
Sound.
Akash is sound.
Is sound, right? That is the attribute. And as Surya says, the attempt of the model is that there are these 5 elements, right, which have certain attributes, and those attributes you will see which they belong to your sense organs and their capacities, right? So we will see how it is.
And your
Right.
body and etc. You will see all the correspondence.
So just to enumerate so that my mind remains focused, is space, air,
The guna, the quality,
no, gunas will come later. The
akasha.
elements are Akasha, Vayu,
Wait, now we are coming to that. We are coming to that. Right? So Akasha has what we call Shabda Guna, right? The sound. That is the only attribute. There is no other attribute of space. Okay? Now, what it says, Akashat Vayuhu. Okay? From space comes the air. Okay? So that means, very important thing. We are not saying from Brahman comes Akasha, from Brahman comes Vayu, right? What we are saying is from Brahman comes Akasha, from Akasha comes Vayu, and if you look at the scientific model, and let's switch it back, it's exactly the same, right? First comes the tiniest thing, which is, let's say, quark, right? Now the quarks come together and make it into a particle. Okay? Particles come together, there is an increasingly added attributes at each level. You combine together and you have one more attribute. The particles come together and then the atoms come together and take on some other attribute. So at each level there is a value addition in terms of the quality. And this is how you have an increasingly complex universe. And different permutations and combinations, right? In fact, it is just the same, particles and atoms, but with different permutations and combinations coming together at an increasing level, acquiring more and more complex qualities. Okay? Very, very similar. Akasha then manifests in form of Vayu. The Vayu, which has its own guna, which has its own quality. What is the quality of Vayu? That of touch. Okay? So wind, we all feel chilly. We feel very chill when there is a lot of wind. So Vayu, when there is some speed with which it comes, the air, right, you begin to feel cold. So Vayu has the quality of touch. But because it comes from Akasha, it also has the quality of sound. Right? So it has the quality of the previous one, and then it has some added quality which makes it into a distinct object from Akasha. So at every time you go on increasing certain qualities. You see the point? You take from your cause and you add one more. This is how the second object is.
And each is a separate object.
And this is why each one becomes a distinct separate object. Because Vayu has something which Akasha does not have.
So even in the table that applies.
Yeah, it
Right?
takes on the
Wood
form.
is a separate object, table is a separate object. No.
No.
No. Okay.
No,
The
here,
gunas.
The only reality of table is wood.
no, here you have to take another example, which is, for example, something which is made of a compound of three, let's say, metals, for example. Okay? So each distinct metal has its own attributes, and as you mix them three together, there's something else. This is the idea.
No, but the original metal doesn't remain in that case. It gets converted like the milk to curd. But in this case, space is not converted to air. Space still remains, and air is there.
Yeah.
And the other
But
thing
there is subtle, and then there is the
Yes, but
gross.
space is space and energy, right? No?
And when
Now
we talk
there
about the
again
gunas,
we
when
will.
we talk about the gunas, right? We say space, guna of space is sound, air is touch. In that case, air is touch and sound.
No. Akasha is space. Space is sound, and air
Vayu
is
is touch.
So
When we say
touch
that-
plus and sound.
Correct. So when we say the guna of Vayu is touch and sound, it should be the same feel for every object where air touches, right? But for me, it could be chill. For someone else,
You must see, here it's not chill, it's the touch.
Sense of touch.
It's not cold
How
or...
do you
no, what I
recognize Vayu? How do you recognize the presence of Vayu? There is some kind of a touch, right? You can't visually see Vayu. You can't see the wind,
so
right?
could
That's
be
all.
smell is also another way of.
We'll see. See, please go on and explain the model.
Yeah,
We'll see.
we can discuss
Right?
later. Yeah, sorry.
From Vayu, which has two qualities, that of touch and sound. Akashat Vayu, Vayor Agnihi, okay, comes the fire. Fire now has one more added attribute, guna. Fire is the first element which is available for me to see, right? So it has what we call rupa, it has a form. Okay. So that means Agni has what? It has a form, it has a touch, because try to touch the Agni and you will know whether it has sense of touch. And it also has a sound, because sometimes you can see when the fire is like really, in the homa and all, it makes a lot of sound, right? So it has all three, it inheres the quality of the previous two causes, and then it has one more added quality. Okay. Then Akashat Vayu, Vayor Agnihi, Agnir Apaha. From the fire comes the water. Okay. So water has which quality? It has a quality of taste. Okay. It's a kind of a neutral. It has the quality of taste. Even though the taste of water is neutral, and everything that you say sweet, spicy, sour, it's all with reference to that neutral taste of water. Okay. So, but it has that taste. Okay. And that means water has this added attribute, guna, of taste, and it also has form, because you can see water. It has the sense of touch. You take cold bath water and you know that it has sense of touch. Okay. And it also has sound when you see the river flowing, right, or waterfall. So it has the quality of the previous three and one more added quality. And then from the water comes Prithvi, right? Prithvi has one more attribute, and which is what we call Gandha. Gandha is the smell.
Sorry, word.
Gandha is smell.
Oh, Gandha.
Yeah. Okay. So it has smell.
So what is the Sanskrit word for touch? Sparsha.
Sparsha. Okay. So there is Gandha. So it has all five. Right? It has the sound, when you lava inside, there is a lot of activities going on and there is sound. Then you have the touch, you have form, and you have taste. You can taste the earth, right? And then you have smell. So these are the 5 basic elements, and the whole universe is seen as nothing but different permutations and combinations of these 5 elements. Right? Each of the element ultimately depends upon Brahman, because from Brahman comes Akasha. Brahman has not undergone any change to become Akasha. You have to remember, right? From Akasha there is a further modification into Vayu. Brahman does not undergo any change, but as the cause, it is there in Akasha and it is also there in Vayu. Okay. From Vayu comes Agni. Brahman is there in Akasha, Vayu as well as Agni. Apaha, water, it is very much there. Prithvi, it is there. It has never undergone any change, but it as though assumes added qualities, right, to become some basic elements out of which the whole universe is created, right, and itself does not undergo any change at all. This is what is intended by the Shastra.
And so this is the same as manifest, non-manifest. Is it, could you, no, it's not the same as manifest, non-manifest.
Now, can you articulate your question better? Can you ask me what exactly?
So this whole thing that Brahma doesn't go in and undergo any change, and then from Brahma comes Vayu, comes Akasha, then Vayu and all. So is it the same what you talked about, manifest, non-manifest? It's manifesting. No, it's
Yeah,
not.
exactly. Yeah. So what you are saying is that Brahman, which was not manifest in form of a Jagat,
Yeah,
is
it
now
comes
manifesting.
But it's not.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And that manifesting is taking place, but it has not undergone any change. And before the manifestation, Brahman was very much there. So in unmanifest Jagat,
Yeah.
the Brahman is there,
Yeah.
right?
So everything other than space, air, fire and water is what we call as Bhrigu. Okay? Everything else other than the food, right?
Sorry?
Objects or anything other than the first 4, like water, earth, what you say as earth, is anything other than which is water, fire, air and space.
Earth is all this plus one more.
Yeah, the qualities of all this.
Yeah, or plus one more. And yeah.
How did Vayu emerge from space? How did Agni come from Vayu?
Sorry. So exactly. See, the reason why we say this is a prakriya, where we say karya karana prakriya, the effect and cause, right? So cause and effect. So how do I show that one has a relationship of cause and effect? That's your question, right? So where we say that when it is the effect inheres the quality of cause. This is how you infer that one is the cause of the other. So when Vayu has the guna of Shabda, I can say that it has the cause of Akasha. But if you really look at it, it is not in a chronological order. Okay? It's not that first Akasha came, then Vayu came, then So what we have the conception of the universe as like a big bang, in which everything simultaneously came. Right? It's not like chronological. It's not chronological, yeah, first Akasha came, then Akasha. But what do you want to show? Even if we talk about the Big Bang, right? Let's look at the scientific model. Even if you look at the Big Bang, everything came all simultaneously. Time, space, and every object. But even if that is the case, there is an increasing combination of different elements. Right? As I had explained, particles come together to become atom, and atom acquires certain attributes which do not inhere in particle. Even though it's a Big Bang. Right? Atoms come together and create water, H2O, but water has certain attributes that and the hydrogen and oxygen don't have. So this is what is meant, right? So increasing attributes are taken over by coming together of different things. This is how you make it into a complex universe. Okay? And this is where, when we talk about Maya, which is the Vikshepa Shakti and Avarana Shakti, our teacher uses this scientific model and says that the entire universe is nothing but atoms and particles, but how does it become all these varied different objects? It's just manifesting in one given way, which in a given permutation or combination, and blocking one potential in a given way. The whole thing is projecting in one way and blocking in the other way. And this is how you make infinite objects in the universe. It's like, in the computer you have binary, you have 0 and 1. But you have infinite possibilities within 0 and 1 just through different permutations and combinations. You block one, you release one, and this is how you make into. So this is what is intended to be conveyed, right? How do you have, it is just telling you how do you have a complex thing like a human body? How does it come about? Okay? So it is coming together of different things. Either you can take it as atoms or particles, or you can take it as 5 elements, right? So the body, but still liver is different. It has taken an much more sophisticated function, a much more sophisticated form, even though it is nothing but permutation and combination of a given thing. So that phenomena is explained. Okay? It's not to be taken in a chronological thing, oh, how did this come from there? Because it all comes as a Big Bang, all at the same time. Time, space, and object framework comes like that. It's already there in the potential and it manifests. Okay? But that the correlation of how does it manifest in all this, that phenomena is explained here.
So what basically you're trying to show us right now is that it's all a dependent reality.
Yes.
Each one is a
Yes.
dependent reality, and it resolves into Brahman and consciousness.
Exactly. Right? It all is a dependent reality, but it is not just random dependent reality. It's organized in a certain way which makes an extremely complex universe, right? With all this interdependence, right? All these symbiotic relationships, right? It's all, and it's just it's an amazing order where each one goes on acquiring, coming together of different things, goes on acquiring increasing attributes, right? So human brain becomes highly complex, which is different from just air, water, but it is nothing but combination of that. You see what is actually the intention of this Shruti? It's very, very interesting.
And why are they called elements? If one is deriving the property of the first, then why it is element? Why are these 5 are called as elements?
These 5 are called as elements because they are seen as the building block. Okay? So everything that is there in the universe is seen as combination of these 5 elements.
Yeah, but what we can extend the argument is if something is combination of Prithvi and water, it obviously has to have Akasha in it. Because from Akasha, we have got Prithvi and water. So we can say that at the end of the day, it's everything is. So my point is, why in Upanishad, these 5 are given importance? Why not only one primary element from where everything starts?
Yeah, that also, and this is what I am saying, that See, you need different permutations and combinations. You can't only talk about one Akasha and then you say Akasha, from Akasha everything came. You have to explain what exactly is happening. Right? There are some basic qualities, right, which then combine to produce different objects. Otherwise, it will not do the job of what it wants to convey. As I am saying that then you can say how from Akasha came my brain.
Or
So
maybe
you
we
want
can-
to show that there are increasing attributes and that is the phenomena that you want to show. Then again those combine further with a different permutation and combination with the intelligence which makes into a very sophisticated your brain, my brain with its functions, it's a complex
But
universe.
maybe element is not the correct word. English substituting element is not the correct word because the connotation that we have with the word element is something which is unique. Like, there are different elements and different compounds. So the molecule structure of element is different to that of
It is
compound.
So I think that's a loose translation of the tattva.
Yeah.
It's not the chemistry.
I think we use Sanskrit word will make a
Okay.
difference.
You are
It's
talking
tattva.
about
No, I can put it this way, like these are the
Now they have found out the
findings
150 elements.
Yeah.
without
elements there.
any object, anything we talk about
Okay.
cannot be without a reference of any of these five. So these are the basic
My
building blocks.
question is very simple. What is the Sanskrit word for this five?
These are called
Pancha
Pancha Mahabhutas.
Mahabhutas.
Bhuta.
Pancha.
Exactly. It's not the element in that sense. It's bhutas and right. Pancha. And one can't understand that this.
Pancha is five, Agastya.
Five.
Pancha is five, Maha is the main, okay, and Bhuta is elements. That's how we translate all the. But do you have a better translation? Can you tell me what is Bhuta? How do you translate Bhuta?
No. You see, the word element in chemistry translates as tattva, and not this one. At this level of macro, you can't get into the process analysis. This is creation beginning to occur. It's not combining this thing. It's coming out of it. It's more a matter of imagination and beauty rather
That
than
elements also
chemical
coming from this
reaction.
Panchabodas.
Yeah.
Gold is coming from the
No, my only point was that
The basic is the
substitute word in English doesn't exist. That's what my feeling is.
Yeah.
Cannot say this and that.
No, the simple meaning of an element is something which is individual, right? So these are the five individual things. So without this, there is no.
Yeah, but I think the concept is clear. So.
The concept is clear, right? What you want to convey is the critical thing, two things. One is that everything comes from Brahman. It does not undergo any change. And at every level, there is an increasing acquisition of attributes, right? And the whole creation is nothing but different permutations and combinations which actually leads to such complexity. Right? So then it goes on further that now you want to show that these five elements actually are creating the world, right? So then it says Prithivya Oshadayaha. From the Prithvi comes Aushadhi. What is Aushadhi? Aushadhi is the vegetables. It can be taken, Bhashyakara says, it can be taken in two ways. Aushadhi can mean medicines, right? Or it can mean food. Or it can mean something, in fact, Aushadhibhyo Annam, Annam is food, Aushadhi has to be taken as all these herbs, right? Vegetation. Okay. So you need Prithvi for the whole vegetation to come. Okay. And Prithivya Aushadhibhyo Annam. Okay. From the vegetation and plant kingdom comes the food. So now here, this is besides the point, right? But the Vedas see food as coming from the plants. Okay. So that is how we, ultimately the source of food is the plants only. Because even if when we eat meat, right, the animals have taken food from the plants, right, and it's digested, and then you eat the food which is digested by somebody else. So ultimately there is only one source of food, and that is here. Okay, so you go to that generally, right, for food, and that is what has all the nutrients, and that is what which has all the necessary elements for vitamins and minerals for you to survive. Okay? And then he says Oshadibhyo Annam and Annat Purushaha. So this Purusha, this individuality, okay, so now you have to bridge the gap between, in the vision of Upanishad, who you are, which is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, and who you think you are. Yeah? You think you are this individual. Right? So now it is beginning to examine from the standpoint of what you think you are. Right? So you think that you are, where is your identification? Your I gets mixed up with what? Why do you feel the sense of limitation? Why do you feel the sense of, why do you have fear of mortality? Why do you have, why? Because for you, I is in the physical body, right? Whatever are the attributes of physical body are generally taken as attributes of I. Okay? And not only we just take on the attributes of physical body, this is why it's very simple, you don't need to think too much about it. When I say, how describe yourself, then we just have our own self-image, right? You don't even have to describe to anybody else. You say, I'm tall. What does it indicate? That your eye is placed in the length of your body. This is how it is, right? Or you say, I'm fair. So your eye is placed in the pigmentations that exist, which make the skin color what it is. Okay? Or you say that I'm fat, in the weight of your body. Okay? So that means that it's not an ordinary identification. I take myself to be as good as the physical body is not an ordinary identification at all. If we look at some of the most subtle complexes that we suffer from, they are all centered on your characteristics of your physical body. Okay. You have, nowadays, you have all these models, who are like sticks. They are like so thin, right? And almost every woman that I meet is like such a problem with just eating and enjoying food. Because you're always thinking that, my God, you will get fat, right? You develop such a kind of a distorted relationship with the food, right? Because you have certain image and that is considered beautiful, and then you don't want to deviate from that, and then that becomes like an obsession. You see, this identification is not an ordinary identification at all. We suffer a lot because of this identification. Okay? Or I was told that I had a friend who was working in an ad agency, and he was saying that the creams that are selling the most in South India are what? Fair and Lovely. Whitening creams, right? And then they, because there is such an obsession, there is such an association of, the beauty with being fair. Okay? Yesterday we went to town to get some medicines for Dustin, and I was really surprised because there was this pharmacy and everything that was like right there is all fair something, and fair and lovely and things like that. Not only that, I saw one more product which had fair and handsome. Now it's also for men, right? It used to be confined to female. now it is, and then there was this fair looking man right in front, and it said fair and handsome, right? So that means, and you really feel that you're not good looking if you don't have that particular skin color, right? So it's an amazingly intimate association that we have, and also we suffer complexes because of that. Okay? And that body that who I think I am, according to the vision of Upanishad, it is what he says, Annamaya. Okay? It is nothing but, this physical body is nothing but, Annam is food, right? And Maya is the suffix which is used, that Mayat Pratyaya indicates Vikara. It can be used in two different manners. Okay? Every Sanskrit word, as I had told you, has a root, then it has sometimes a prefix, it has suffix, right? And each, this prefix and suffix, give it a certain specific meaning, right? So when you use the word Annamaya, Annam is food, and then Mayat Pratyaya, Bhashyakara says, how is it used, right? It is which of the two meaning? Is it in the sense of Prachurya, predominance of food, or is it in the form of modification of food? Then he says it is modification of food. Okay? So this entire physical body, which you think I am, is nothing but what? These 5 elements, right? Coming together to be, then there is a plant kingdom, then from plant the food is created, right? And the food is digested, and then there is a vikara, right? The food, this body is nothing but modification of food and digested food. This is why every 3 meals we have to take, they all get digested, they convert into energy, and that's what becomes I. And in fact, if you look, there is air inside, there is a lot of water inside, then there is space inside, there is digestive fire working, there is air that we keep on taking. So it is nothing but modification of not only those 5 elements, but also the food that we take, which has to keep it going, to keep it alive.
The I need not real, additional to the physical, yes, mostly it's the physical body which we talk about. They try to represent.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But when you say, when someone says, I'm an intelligent person, it really doesn't come to
It's
the
all
body.
coming, Prakash.
Okay.
We go one at a time. I can't explain everything all simultaneously.
Okay.
It's very true. What you are saying is absolutely right? We first start, because here it is, now it's talking from Annat, then Annat Purushaha, okay? So Prithivya Oshadaha, Oshadibhyo Annam, Annat Purushaha. Okay? From the Annam, there is the so-called you. The first identification we are talking about. The subsequent identification is oncoming, right? So it is, we will, little patience. Okay. So Annat Purushaha, Sava Esha Purushaha, Anna Rasamaya. Okay. This Purusha, the first, this Mayat is now who I think I am. The first level of identification is the physical body. And what is said is that physical body which I think is I am is nothing but modification of these 5 elements, and then it depends upon food, which itself is nothing, which comes from another permutation and combination which creates a vegetable kingdom. Right? So these 5 elements is something that I can see in my body. You have to understand, it's not because Upanishad says, therefore it is right. You are not saying that, right? So you see there is space, the body exists in space, inside there is space, there is water, There is air, the external air is taken and it becomes what we call prana, that we will see. Okay. Then there is water, there is digestive fire working, which keeps the whole circulatory system and digestive system going, which enables the body to continue. Okay. And then there is Prithvi also. The whole matter is, and this is why when the physical body dies, you give it back to the 5 elements from which it has come. Look at the wisdom. We know there is some understanding that the body is put together by these 5 elements, you give it back to the 5 elements. Okay. So again we can say, if 5 elements themselves are not I, water is not I, right? Vayu is not I, fire is not I. So when things are put together, how does it become I? So certainly there is a misconception about what I am. Right. The further we will see in the next class. Okay. Further levels of identification we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.